everyone. Welcome to another Takamine Showcase. This year for 2025, we're going to do something a little different than we've done in the past. And I'm Tom from Takamine. I'm Director of Product Development here in the US. And we always talk about guitars sounding different and looking different and why they all are kind of just little boxes with strings on them. So what's the difference? And we're going to actually really kind of get into it and dig into it a bit today with kind of a little bit of a guitar yenta discussion here today. And of course, I have two really good friends. And if you've been watching our website for a while, you'll know Jake Allen, who has done countless demos for us. A great player, actually out doing an off-Broadway one-man show called The Lion coming up here. Which is just full of crazy hybrid picking, flame throwing, horrifyingly difficult guitar playing, and you have to act at the same time.
Yes.
So that's what you're going to have going here very shortly, right? That's coming up.
But it's a good opportunity to show off some awesome Takamine guitars, that's for sure.
How many guitars are you playing in that show?
I believe there's 5 acoustics and 1 electric in that show.
Yeah, and all Takamine acoustics, and actually an ESP electric, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then over on this side here, we have our director of PR, pretty much for the ESP brand and Takamine brand here in the U.S. And actually an alt country, I guess. Would you really, or maybe indie rock kind of thing?
Both correct, yeah.
Guitar player as well with your alt persona, right? Which is Zach
Claxton.
Zach Claxton.
That's
yes.
right.
And so Jeff is kind of like I would say kind of an all-around kind of guitar player. Jake is probably, I would say, more like fingerstyle, although you play every style, but I would say you're an accomplished fingerstyle guitar player. Jeff is more of the strummer and that kind of songwriter type. So I figured having you both here and hearing what the guitars sound like in your hands and hearing what the guitars sound like in your hands comparatively is an interesting thing. One of the things that really describes the tone of a guitar begins here, ultimately, right? It's how your tone is when you pick up a guitar, and whether the particular soup that you choose when you're picking tone woods, body shapes, and all the variables. Hopefully, you get a perfect summation of what it is your hands do, and if not even that, maybe a different flavor for you.
Yeah. Tom, I don't have to tell you, it's the oldest phrase in guitar playing is that tone is in the hands. But the fact of the matter is, we all understand that when we pick up a different guitar, we play differently. You react differently. The feel of the guitar, the tone coming back at you.
Yeah, and ultimately, that's why I have you both here, because to me, it's like we could do this with one person, and it's really interesting and informative. But to do it with two people just makes it extra deeper and that kind of thing. But this is going to be a very, very simple, brief conversation. So if you're worried about having to learn science and stuff like that, don't worry. I'm not very bright. This is going to be easy.
One of the nice things about what we're doing here today also is that not everybody has the opportunity. Maybe you go over and you hang out with a friend and they've got a different kind of guitar than you do or whatnot. Maybe you go into a loud music store and people are bashing cymbals and whatnot. It's not the greatest, environment to do that. So I thought when we were talking about this, actually being able to sit here and say, oh, that's what a jumbo is like. That's what an NEX is like. Or as we get to the second part of this is what a guitar with rosewood back inside sounds like versus maple and so on. It's not something you think that everybody has that opportunity, but you really don't. So that's what I'm excited about.
We'll get to all of that. Like I say, Jake, you play just about every size and shape and tone woods and stuff like that. And to me, one of the things I think is interesting listening to you is to see how you adapt to an instrument. Which it seems like that's the kind of thing I think as that style of a player or any player really, you pick up an instrument and your whole body language and everything will change and you make it. Now, just to give a little bit of the technical side of things here, we're using these two lovely UA mics identical setups, identical, no EQing that is any different on either mic, and so that we're hearing kind of as much the same thing as possible. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the methodology, the way we're going to go through this. We're going to start on this side of the guitars behind me here, and what we have over here is pretty much the same guitar tone woods, with the exception of one, which we'll get into, but all with different body shapes. So we're going to concentrate on body shapes first. And I'll get this guy kind of out of the way. Try not to kill the cable for the first time out. And I'm going to start with the jumbo. And the reason I'm starting with the jumbo here is because the back and side wood is different than all the other examples. We don't make a black walnut jumbo. We make a maple jumbo. But I still want to include jumbos because jumbos are an interesting instrument. I mean, this is a big guitar, right? And one of the interesting things about big guitars is you think big guitar, big sound. Jumbos are really, really unusual to me in that while they probably have the biggest lower bout of anything out there, you really have to dig in to get a big sound. And if you're playing small, more delicate passages, it's going to sound thin and bright and jangly, which is, I think, what it gets used for in a lot of rock records. You'll hear it in the background on a rock record, almost as if it's a high-strung guitar, but it's not, because it's got the maple and it's got that jumbo thing. So, Jake, I'll just stop talking and let Jake give it a whack, sir.
You want something kind of delicate first? And
Yeah, just do whatever.
That's nice. Start digging into it a little bit. Yeah, it's nice for both applications, actually.
Yeah, and what do you feel about the quickness of attack on that?
Yeah, it's really kind of snappy.
Yeah, snappy and bright, and ultimately, though, kind of thin, right?
Yeah, in a way. I could see where it would sit really well in a mix and kind of like pop out of the mix in like a sharp, nice.
Yeah.
You know?
But like I say, I think they sit in tracks super nice because of that. Here,
Yeah, thank you.
give it a whack, sir.
All right, let's see what we got going here. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and Tom, what you were just saying, if I've already got a mix, with some other things going on, somebody's playing some chunky riff-based guitar, bass, and stuff going over that, this is going to be real nice that it's going to... I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, when you think about it, we can easily talk over this guitar,
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
And once again, to me, sometimes looks are deceiving
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
And I can't describe my joy that hoping this would work, in that you guys' tone is so remarkably different.
True.
From each other.
Very true.
You made that guitar sound much warmer than Jake did, for instance. That's the one thing I observed. I don't know, you out there at home going, that kind of thing.
It's huge, though.
It is.
Yeah, it is. So this is interesting. What if we took this guy and shrunk it down and made a mini jumbo? And the interesting thing is, I think, because sizing it down, it means that when you're putting less energy into the strum, the top's going to move quicker and earlier because it's not moving as big a piece of lumber. And I mean, you could see that's a significant difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Jake, I'm going to hand you this, and let's see what that sounds like in comparison.
What model is this, Tom?
This is the NEX size, so this would be a GN51 CE,
Cool.
Numbers and letters kind of thing. But essentially what it is black walnut back and sides, spruce top,
Gotcha.
solid spruce top. So
Yeah.
crazy how much warmer.
Way.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite body styles of guitars that Takamine makes right now. Yeah,
Nice.
let's go.
Cool.
Try this bad boy. All right, let's see here. Wow. Top really is moving a lot more.
It's a lot more even, right? A little less string, a little bit more overall warmth.
Punches, though.
Which did you prefer?
Between the Jumbo and the NEX, I'm probably more of an NEX guy.
Well, and I
Yeah.
know you are because that's your main guitar.
And frankly,
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
comfort-wise.
I was just about to say, the feel of this thing is really nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and this is, to me, this is something that doesn't get talked about enough when we're talking body sizes. The guitar that you're going to write your hits on, is the guitar you're going to curl up on in the couch with. You know, so smaller body guitars, and we'll get to this, but smaller body guitars tend to get used more because they're just, man, you kick around the house, it's easy, you know, and curling up with this guy, I mean, you know.
You know, and we've all experienced this. I'm sure that Jake has had. There are some guitars that, you know, they do sound good, but you really feel like it's a battle the whole time. You're kind
Yeah.
of fighting the guitar a little bit, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
arm's not
Absolutely.
quite in the right position, you know, and you're hearing it in the mix. It's like, man, that sounds good. It's resonant and everything, but it's not the one that you want to just sit there and play for hours.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
You mean like this guy might be.
Yeah.
So this is, we call this a New Yorker size. You know, it's just a small body guitar. People use the term parlor guitars when they're describing this. To my eye, this is not a parlor guitar.
How so?
But because I think parlor guitars typically have a narrower waist and a longer lower bow.
Got you, right.
And they end up looking more like they're designed for that. They're really designed this way narrow. But you know, this is a small body guitar. This is along the size of essentially about the same size as a classical guitar.
Sure.
It's a little different, obviously, but the cool thing is it's a lot smaller. So I mean, I think in size wise, if you look at the difference between it and the NEX, it's quite a good leap down.
Yeah.
And we have a size in between this that I didn't include in this because we're really only making one or two models in it right now, called the FXC, which is actually the exact outline of a classical,
Okay.
only in a steel string. But this is slightly smaller. But there again, when we're talking about like smaller means smaller sound, right? Well, let's see what that's all about, Jake.
Yeah, I have one of the New Yorkers, and it is kind of, it's actually might be my loudest guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice and balanced all the way across is what I like about it. It is one of those comfort guitars that you would, the New Yorker
This is the guitar you sit on the couch with
yeah,
and
yeah,
curl
it's
up
absolutely.
and write your hits
And
on.
good buddy of mine actually has two of the New Yorkers, and he's quit playing all of his other guitars because he's just
Understand.
like he loves the sound of them, but then also you pick them up and they're just so comfy and
Yeah, I
and
believe
light.
I think Hozier is using New Yorkers for all his set too, which is ridiculous because I think what is he like 6'4" or something like
he's a
that?
big
He's like a
dude.
big dude, and like the guitars look tiny on him, but they sound amazing.
Yeah,
But interesting thing that I always hear when we go from a large guitar, like say the Jumbo to this guy, is not only are you getting more inherent warmth with less energy on the smaller guitars, but actually less overtones in general. I find that fundamentals pop out more. Let's
Very
get this over to Jeff here to see how that feels for you.
it's tiny.
The crazy thing is, to me, that's the warmest sounding guitar I've heard him play.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it is.
Or at least from this side. You know, I'm not out in front of the instruments, but for just in the room here.
No, I'm hearing that too.
Really nice. And even though I'm doing big strums, the individual notes really seem to pop.
Now, compare the volume level that we're talking at compared to the jumbo,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I'm sitting there and we're having a conversation, and all of a sudden this is taking over everything.
Yeah. So that to me is always one of the coolest phenomenons that you have to exert less energy. And we're talking about body shape now.
Right.
It's going to even get weirder as we get into top woods and stuff like that. You know,
Let's get weird, man.
Well, of course, that's what we're here for.
This is great. This is cool.
Anything you want to hear again next to it before we head over to another shape here?
Not me. I mean, I think everything's pretty self-explanatory here.
I just want to do as a big contrast, though. Play a little bit on that, and I'm going to grab the jumbo again.
Okay.
Just anything, you know, just a little sample.
All right.
Okay, that's cool. Let's swap.
Same riff.
Yeah. Same level, too.
It's really drastically different.
There's deeper deeps in this, I think, but there's also way less mid-range
Yeah,
and way less volume.
And that's what it all comes down to. It's about the context of what you're doing. And again, Jake and I both, we play with other musicians. We do solo stuff. The stuff that you do when you're trying to actually have some separation and contrast between what's going on. Whenever I do things with it's a duet type of situation, I always try and avoid us having the same type of guitar. The fact is it's more than just you could do with panning and EQ. The guitar itself has a different voice to begin with, and it really helps distinguish what's going on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And of course, my evil motive on this here is not just to get you to figure out which guitar is right for you, but how many guitars are right for you.
Are there ever enough guitars
All of
for
them.
you? I'm talking to the wrong guy.
You're talking definitely to the wrong guy. Yeah. All right.
Have you actually bought a new house for your guitars yet, or is that?
No, but I do have an entire room for them, I guess. Well, and rooms.
I have just about every body style that Takamine makes, and I A/B them on all of the recordings I do.
That's
I go
awesome.
through all of them, and I'm just like, okay, what's the best one for this track?
Yeah.
And it's cool when it's always like, well, they all sound good, but you know, what's just a little bit more appropriate for that
Gooder?
song, you know? Yeah.
You know, I mean, and sometimes, and I hate to be like Mr. Mystic Cosmic Magic guy, but sometimes it's that one that speaks to you, whatever that means, you know. And even if sometimes it's really hard, we try and put words around these things. Well, this one has a better mid-range content. This one has better, you know, solo note isolation, stuff like that. Sometimes it's just like, man, I don't know. I played this one really easy, and it just felt good, and I didn't want to put it down.
Yeah.
I have guitars that, you know, are really easy to play, but sonically don't inspire me for some reason. And I'll play those less, and then I'll have ones that are, you know, like I have a Triolean, right, that is impossible to play, and I love playing that thing because I have to wrench sounds out of it. And when you wrench the sound out of it, it sounds like you wrenched the sound out of it, you know. And so there's that element to it too, I think, when you're picking up a body style and like I say, how it controls your attitude, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that sort of thing. And oftentimes I think body size, more than anything, is an inspiration in songwriting. You know, you might say, well, I want to write something big and airy, then maybe I'd go to the jumbo because that's going to be, it's got that cloud kind of sound, right? And then, but then, if I were to typically sit down with a guitar, honestly, I'm going to sit down with one of these at my house, and that's a Dreadnought.
Sure.
And we know this shape. It's like what we know. Was really designed to compete with louder instruments, But there's interesting things that happen, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I mean, when Martin came up with this design, they created something entirely different, because not only did it create a guitar, but to me, here, I'm going to just set this here for a second. They also created kind of a drum. You know, Dreadnoughts are percussive. They've got a sound. They've got a cavity sound to them. To me, if I'm going to equate it to an electric guitar thing, it's like playing through a 412 cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
It's got, you know, that spit, that thump to it that just basically doesn't come out in any other guitar.
One thing that I can tell you, again, from I do a lot of solo acoustic shows, Jake obviously does as well, where you have to be the rhythm section at the same time as you're being carrying the melody and doing the progression and generally singing at the same time. That's one reason why I'm a Dreadnought guy, because you have that little chunk which is indicating a kick drum or a snare drum in some way while you're being one guy alone on stage.
And how many drums do you get on this, Jake?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
I want to talk about him.
yeah. The reason I started playing Takamine is because I do a lot of that kind of percussive, like all that percussion on the guitar type stuff.
And Dreadnoughts are super good for that, because they have all the flavors, every flavor, and they're really percussive, I find.
Yeah, they're very, you know, kind of varied from spot to spot when you're doing that type of stuff. And then the electronics in Takamines, obviously, that's the reason I started kind of migrating towards that for live, because it picks up all that sound really well. But yeah, the Dreadnought, the first Takamine I had was the EF341 SC, you know, this same body style. And so I got kind of attached to, you know, this, like Jeff's saying, this kind of percussive nature of this body style and what it offers in that regard.
Just do one kind of like a couple strums on it real quick. Nothing real quick, because I'm going to hand you another guitar here in just a second.
Sure.
Okay, so interesting thing there is that we've been showing, for the most part, cutaway guitars, right? And I have here the same body style, same woods, without a cutaway. And people say, well, doesn't a cutaway take away from the sound? Well, there's a brace that goes along inside the body that's pretty big, and it pretty much stops. Like if I sit there and go, and I mean, we're probably picking this up on the mics even, but it's not much different. So just a quick strum, and then I'll hand you this real quick so you can hear that it's not much difference. Let's swap.
Yeah, it's almost identical.
Yeah, I mean, as much as two guitars can be.
Yeah.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
You want to give this one a rip?
Yeah, sure. Why not, man? The Dreadnought cutaway. Let's play the same chords that Jake just played and sound totally different.
You mixed it up a bit there. Yeah, I see what you did. But yeah, no, I mean, literally the hand sound totally different, right? And the percussion in the notes are different.
Yeah.
You have different percussion than you have.
Yeah.
But they are both brought out.
Yeah. Like on something like this, or many guitars, I'll also use a lot of the palm muting to also
kind of like a Neil Young thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the Dreadnought thing, and obviously we do Dreadnoughts really well. We make and sell quite a few Dreadnoughts. A lot of artists playing our Dreadnoughts. A lot of artists play NEXs as well. But to me, it's all about just reasons to try different things and try different spaces.
Sure, and I mean, and let's also address another thing here. Songwriting, you'd think, well, who cares? I mean, it's you're just getting notes and chords and whatnot. I am 100% convinced that different guitars have different songs in them.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I was going to mention that. You pick a certain guitar up and you're like, ooh, this has stuff in it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, why would it matter? Why would it have anything to do with the guitar? And then you pick up a different guitar or a different shape or something like that. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's the position of your hands on the instruments. Maybe that's what it's all about.
Totally.
But suddenly, you're literally like, oh, I just found a new song just by picking up this other guitar. That in and of itself is a great reason to bring new guitars into your life every once in a while.
Well, I mean, so the cool thing is we've gone through, what, 5 different body shapes here?
Yeah.
Just briefly, or 4?
Yeah.
4 different body shapes briefly here. And they could be none more different.
Absolutely.
You know, and what you're talking about with the inspiration thing, to me, that's almost what it is for me. Like, I mean, aside from just that I really like the way they look, guitars to me, they're gonna call me to do a certain thing. Like I've been on the electric side of the world, I've been on you know, like your standard Tele type guitars lately, and it's just been an obsession. But that's the thing, you get into these obsessions, and the nice thing is when you know what the obsession is going to feed before you even grab it,
Yeah.
or you know, you can visualize it, and then it actually comes to reality. It's really cool. So, any questions on body shape so far from either of you here?
Not really. I think the one thing I want to make sure that our audience is clear on, you know, Takamine is, and you touched on this earlier, really well known for having the built-in preamps and to make it easy. You walk up on stage, you plug in.
Yeah.
Frankly, most of my shows, you know, after having wrestled with a different guitar which did not have onboard preamps, having to mic it, having to worry about feedback, having to worry about staying in the same place while I'm trying to sing and emote and stuff like that. But our big thing here is that it would be super easy for us to just plug these guys into a.
Oh yeah.
Thing.
No, that's
not the point of what we're doing.
And I'll also say, I'll say this. Jake could probably elaborate on this a bunch. But watching him play, especially with his hand percussion on guitars, the palathetic system is actually not just picking up the strings; it's picking up the body of the guitar.
Yeah.
And that's why it sounds good, but it also makes it really amazing for the style of music that players of your type are you know, who are using hand percussion and stuff like that on guitars. It's really amazing for that because it's a very detailed reproduction. It's not obnoxious. It doesn't sound like it's honking or anything like that, like a lot of other pickup systems would. I mean, you know, we've been around 2 years now? I guess 62, 63 years now.
Correct.
And of that time, you know, since the late 70s, they've been making acoustic electric guitars. And honestly, I mean, if I would say anything about Takamine that can't be disputed, is we go to the stage as good, if not better than any
For sure, for sure. And usually a lot of times when we do this or when we're having Jake on a demo and people see there's a mic in front of him, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We want to make sure that people understand, sitting here just
this is just for today, okay?
Yeah, but that's the point. These guitars sound great acoustically. I mean, they really do. And that should be the main signal of why it's going to also sound great.
That's an interesting thing you bring up, because I think one of the things is we get the rap of being so good at going to stage and being, that's really our only thing. No, the guitars sound good.
They really do.
Yeah. They do, and they're built well. And I always take that for granted that that's just a given, but it's not. You're right.
It's not. It's not. I mean, I've played a ton of different guitars in my life, different brands, different manufacturers. Not all of them hold up well while you're touring. Some of them, you get off a plane and you're always, keeping your fingers crossed to whether there's going to be a crack below the bridge or something like that, or the back of the headstock. I just always know I can rely on Takamine. They're tanks and they're going to make it to the show.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, from traveling all over the country that they deal with changes probably better than most guitars.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, the Dreadnought, the EF341 Dreadnought that I started out with, I still have that guitar, and I literally use the guitar as a bass drum, and I'm like pounding on it for years and years, and there's never been any issues with it. And,
but like when you go to Florida and you go to Michigan where you live, and you're back and forth between there, that could be two more drastic environments for climate.
Right. And they
and
hold
still,
up. They hold up to it. And definitely, as far as to bring it back to these guitars sounding so good acoustically, I'm both a live and a studio guy, so I need both applications to be bulletproof and, very, very good sounding. So when it comes to the stage, I mean, there's literally nothing that beats a Takamine. And, when I first got mine, I think I was about 16 years old, and I was like, why does this sound so good? And then I researched it and started, kind of becoming hip to the palathetic pickup.
He did his own research.
Yeah, and then thank God I got to work with you guys a few years after that. But going into the studio, it's like this thing also has to sound good in front of a mic, and I have several that I'm always, like I'm saying, I'm always A/Bing them, and it's like as far as the other brands and stuff, there's nothing inferior about a Takamine in front of a mic. If not,
absolutely
not.
And that includes guitars that cost a lot more than these. I don't think it's just a dollar for dollar thing.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes playing guitars that, I mean, let's face it, are $1,000 more than my P5 DC that you're holding there.
Yeah.
I prefer this, not just because I'm familiar with it, but because it just works. And it works across a wide range of different styles.
I remember selling you your P5 DC
That's right.
and saying, this is going to be your favorite guitar now.
Well, I told you what I was.
Laughed at me.
Yeah, I did. And I must say, I did not believe you. I said, because my point to Tom was like, look, man, I need something because I'm doing some shows in Nashville. I'm doing some shows around here. I don't want to take my other super high-end guitar around with me, which is a story we hear all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
And I was considering this going to be, it's like, well, this will be, nice to use when I don't want to have to worry about something. Now it's the only guitar that I use. And the other one, it's still there. It's just, gets dusted off.
Still super high-end.
Yeah, it's still super high-end, doing fine in the closet in its case,
That's funny you say that because a friend of mine just got a Takamine EF360.
Yeah.
Which is cheaper than the guitar that he was playing on stage.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I need a workhorse, good electronic sounding guitar. And he's been playing it on this last tour. And he was just like, yeah, I'm going to start leaving this one at home because it's my favorite guitar and I want to baby it.
That's
I want to
funny.
baby the Takamine. So he's actually like gotten his old, more expensive guitar out for the beater.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's amazing.
We're going to shift gears and go down Dreadnought Alley now. And we're starting with your P5 DC. This finish is Whiskey Brown, which we developed with Blake Shelton, who plays this model as well as others, I believe. But one other thing we're going to do here is we're shifting from what we've been listening to so far, are guitars that are made in our Chinese factories, the G series guitars, which are great guitars. But now we're going to go to the Japanese-made models, at least quite a few of them, not all of them. But and it's a shift in quality that is significant, but it's crazy because the G series is so good.
Look, I mean, here's the fact. Here's the fact of the matter. I mean, and we all understand this. I mean, there's many things in life that are like this. The G series guitars are made the best possible situation while still being able to make a lot of guitars, in a factory situation. This is not a giant assembly line of
No, these are quite handmade.
Yeah.
And they do use CNC on some stuff, and there is some mechanization, but it is not at the level of most guitar companies nowadays. And there's a lot of handcrafting and a lot of hand voicing on the instruments. But they're just really, really good workmanlike instruments. That's the thing. They're not designed to be super hyper fancy.
Yeah.
They're designed to be good.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look in the Takamine Japan factory and you're seeing a person using a hand tool to shiv down bracing on the inside of a guitar, that's a hand-built guitar, I mean, yeah.
At any rate, the key thing here is, though, now we're going to be starting to talk about all Dreadnoughts here for the next bit, but different top and backwoods.
Yeah.
And on this guitar, I know that it's brown, but that's why I talked about the Whiskey Brown. This is actually a regular standard spruce top with Indian rosewood back and sides, mahogany neck, pretty much the basic tone print of modern acoustic guitar sound when we think about it. So I'm going to hand this over to you and you do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, standard spruce rosewood sound. I could keep playing that one for a while.
I get
But like I say,
constant-
this is the classic sound,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I get constant compliments on the sound of this guitar.
That's nice.
That's
Just
cool.
beauty.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing to me is, like, it sounded like the same guitar. I mean, you guys' playing was very, very different
Extremely.
tonally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to me, more so than the other instruments, this to me sounded more like the same guitar. And I think it's just because that's what, you know, like if you think of electric guitar speakers, Celestion speakers, that's a sound that you know and
Right.
and you can identify with, just like this particular tone wood combination is something and body shape is something you know and can identify with, very, very much like 5-pocket jeans, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Tried and true.
For sure.
I'm going to grab this guitar, which is also a spruce top guitar. And this has really, really stupidly beautiful burled sapele on the back and
Okay,
side.
let's actually do a little compare and contrast. So here we have Indian rosewood.
And that's a dark piece of Indian rosewood.
Yeah, it
too.
sure is. But you
But,
see all the striations. Then you've got this guy with, wow.
Yeah, no, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
But a key thing here, we're not talking about the way it looks. It is beautiful. We're talking about the way it sounds. And so on the top of it, spruce top, it should be identical as far as dynamics and tone from the spruce top.
Right.
This will give us more mids, more softer mids and lower mids, and probably actually in a weird way, a different, more of a brashy top end, which that to me is more, if I can use a stupid, these are all stupid terms, sorry, this is just the way it is. I call this a more glassy top end.
Oh, no, that's not
This is
stupid.
more brash, more like a horn. That'd be more like a piano.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So let's give that a whack, and I'll take this away
Okay.
from you here now.
Nice.
Yeah. I hear that.
But you hear the difference in mids is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous.
That's cool.
So Tom, I mean, sapele is kind of more in the family of mahogany.
Of a mahogany,
basically.
yeah. Mahogany, before we go on here, mahogany is kind of like a catch-all these days.
Right, right.
Mahogany, actual real mahogany from, you know, like Fiji, Honduras, that kind of, you know, that we know, you know, like what juniors were made out of and
Right,
stuff like that. You know, that mahogany is kind of being categorized with other woods like kaya, sapele, kume, all these African woods that kind of, they look the same and they sound somewhat the same. I mean, with minor pinky lifting variances, they're going to have that kind. Very, very similar to, like, say, if you use Brazilian rosewood versus Indian rosewood versus Madagascar rosewood, you know, it all has that rosewood sound, but they're all slightly different. The difference being is that most things that are being called mahogany are not mahogany,
No, I know.
whereas a lot of rosewoods, they're rosewood.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing in my experience, and people think about this as like a negative, it's not at all. Whereas the rosewood will really kind of emphasize a lot of overtones and stuff like that. The mahogany has this dryness, but I mean that in a beautiful way, you know, where things are, I'll just play the guitar.
Yeah, play it. Totally different.
Very,
Now,
very
I'm just going to
different.
hand this back to you and play that exact same lick.
See if I remember.
See what I'm saying about the
Yeah.
snappiness of the top end
sure.
and a little bit lower thump? This
For
is going to be just more about the mids.
Yeah.
If
That's
I was
kinda
going
like
to, yeah,
vintagey sounding.
Yeah,
compared to
exactly,
that.
But in a way, though, you sounded more vintage on this guitar.
I know I did. I
Which
know
is
I-
cool.
I absolutely
Whereas to
did.
me, it sounded like you almost sounded like, oh, this isn't right.
Okay.
In a way. Not saying you played bad. I'm just saying that I think you're used to more of this.
Yeah.
If I was going to do something, if I was going to choose like one of these guitars, say for something like was more Americana type of thing,
Yeah.
I'd definitely be taking that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it depends on the song, but
That's
yeah,
true.
I get what you're saying. I love mahogany back and sides guitars because it matches my tone really well. So, you know, a lot of my like better acoustics are of that kind of wood. So going on this range here, let's swap around here. I'm going to take another rosewood guitar.
Okay.
And then this guitar has a cedar top.
Ah.
So rosewood and cedar to me is, dang, it's one of the most magical combinations ever because cedar as a top wood is softer and super flexible and dynamically quick.
Okay.
So it's going to get loud quicker, but it also won't get as loud. Like you can make a spruce top guitar really loud by playing it hard. This will run out of gas.
Okay.
But it's almost like having a compressor on the guitar, if that makes sense. So I'm going to hand it to you and
Sure. I love the satin on this too.
yeah. Always like
Nice
that.
feel.
Okay, now just for yucks, play the same thing
Okay.
on the spruce top one. Where did all that
Yeah.
where
it's
did all
like-
that information go,
Totally,
right?
yeah.
However, listen to the gloss on the top of this and the sheen and the punch. Okay, let's swap again.
Cool.
Do the same sort of thing. Crazy, right?
Articulation.
Well, because it's bringing it all up. To me, it really is like a compressor almost. I'm going to have
Cool.
Jeff
Yeah.
Yeah.
give a little whack on that as well.
What a difference. I have no idea what I'm playing here.
Just anything.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I can hear it in one note. I'll tell you, this would not be the guitar I'd want to play like sneaking through a bank robbery because the lightest strum on this thing is all, hello, I'm going to be
However,
quiet. It's not.
play it hard, real quick.
See, it that kind of peaks out there. Yeah.
Now go to this and play it hard, and
yeah.
you'll see what I'm talking about as far as dynamics.
Yeah, it's definitely some more volume on it. Yeah. But then on the quiet passages are.
But there's detail in the negative space
Yeah.
that you're not going to get with this either. So they both have their benefits, they both have their detractions, and they both are essential. So you need both.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that. But...
The Garth Brooks model, the GB7C, the
Yeah.
one with the
Yeah.
guitar shape, pretty much the same tone print,
Nice.
which is, that's one of the reasons why that guitar is so successful. It's just such a great sounding combination. And it's alarming the first time you pick it up, right? It's like,
Shockingly
it's
different.
like you just go, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, shockingly different. I literally played one chord and it took me back.
That's cool. So let's see which way we're going to go now. All right, so we're going to take a different direction here. Now we're going to go back to this P5 DC, which is spruce top, rosewood back and sides,
Right?
to another guitar that has rosewood back and sides and a spruce top. But gosh, those look really, really different. I mean, obviously this has color on it, but this top actually is baked.
Ah,
So this is, go ahead and play this and listen. What I want to be listening for is upper mid content and low end softness. Like this should have a very punchy low end and kind of a more hollow mid range.
To be clear, baked as in that's one of our thermal top
Thermal-top
TT
guitars,
series.
yes. Great example for this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Immediately.
See the big mid shift.
Yeah.
They're
cool.
also a little less dynamically challenging, right? Like you don't have to push this guitar as much as this guitar.
Right. Yeah. A little bit easier to play.
What happens with these bake top thermal? We call it thermal top technology. Is they bake the moisture out of the wood in a vacuum so that it actually doesn't then burst into flames. But and then they cool it and reintroduce moisture to it. But it changes the actual structure of the wood very, very much to the way wood ages.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what it does is it sets certain parts of the wood into a longer state,
Yep.
as opposed to something that's dramatically changing. It does make it a little bit more. I hate even giving this information out because people are so mean to their guitars, but it gives it a little bit more less sensitivity to humidity change too,
Gotcha. Right.
which is nice. But still keep your guitars humidified, kids. Let me let Jeff hear this and hear the differences too. I think is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, so this is our thermal top. Wow, nice. I'm getting on here. Let's see here.
I think that's the best sounding guitar I've heard them on so far.
It's beautiful.
Try this one now, just for the contrast.
Okay, we are also attitude.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can totally hear it, right? And feel it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'm going to take both these away, and I'm going to
Okay.
go now. I'm going to go to Sapele land.
He
Sort of
giveth
a similar
And
thing.
he taketh away.
I do. I mean that way. All right. So here is a Sapele guitar. Go ahead and play that a bit here. Because this is the guitar we looked at earlier with the spruce top, Sapele back and sides.
Right.
Okay. Now, here's a radically different guitar, but same woods.
Wow. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So turn that one around for a second. Here's what Sapele looks like when it's not beautiful like the other.
That's still a very
still
nice.
really
That looks really neat,
so
dude.
one of the reasons this is often called striped mahogany,
Right.
but it's not mahogany once again. But also other things about this guitar that are different. It also has a thermal top,
Right.
but it also is a short scale guitar.
Yeah.
And it's, shorter scale. So, I mean, 3/4 of an inch difference between the two, but it makes a difference.
matters. Oh, yeah.
And it's a 12th fret neck joint. So when the neck joins at the 12th fret instead of the 14th fret like it is here,
Right.
what ends up happening is the bridge actually goes more to the sweet spot of the soundboard.
I get that.
So it's a fuller sound. And then there's even one more thing. Now, when Martin was making Dreadnoughts, their competitor made a jumbo, and they became a slope shoulder Dreadnought or a round shoulder Dreadnought. And it's a different sound. I find it's a little less percussive, but it still is. It's a cool sound. And honestly, to me, this is the guitar you sounded best on so far.
Okay.
To my ear,
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So let's let's do the same. Here, we'll start you with this guy.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Crazy.
It's beautiful. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. But see, so dynamically, you're getting sort of like almost a cross between the spruce and that cedar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And because of the baked top, and plus also because of the 12 fret neck joint, it gives a little bit more of a warmth.
So nice.
Yeah.
Really warm.
Yeah, really, really cool
Just
guitar.
an
huh?
inviting sound, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of my favorites we make, that guy. That's the
CRN
CRN-TS1, yes.
The headstock on that one's really neat too.
I
There's a lot
love
of
the
headstock,
slot
beautiful.
headstock. I like the way it's it kind of bevels its way in here. Isn't
Yeah.
that nice?
It looks very
Gorgeous.
boutique-ish.
Yeah, I know. It's stripey, stripey.
So now we're going to go the exact opposite way here, and I'm going to show you this beautiful maple guitar.
Yeah.
A lot going on there.
Oh, wait, yeah.
That maple
So,
could be none more black, Tom.
This
None more
is
black.
said EF341SC that you were
Yeah.
talking about.
My first guitar.
This is probably, if I were to say, close your eyes and tell me what a Takamine guitar looks like, this is the guitar. I mean, this is the kind of like our iconic guitar. You know, many of our artists play this guitar. And one of the reasons I think, and I think it's a secret on this guitar, is because it's black, you really don't know what the tone woods are.
Yeah.
And the tone woods is solid spruce top, but has maple back and sides, which is, you know, that's not a real normal recipe on a Dreadnought. And yet, probably one of the most successful Dreadnoughts in professional music is a maple Dreadnought.
We don't have to name the names
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
but when you see so many people, when you see that iconic black gloss guitar on a stage,
Oh yeah.
and the rock world, the pop world, the folk world, it's amazing
It's
how
our
often
icon.
this guitar pops up.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jake, I think you're probably familiar with this. Why don't you
Yes,
give
sir.
this a little strum?
Classic.
Super articulate, quick, chimey, everything you want an acoustic guitar on a stage to be.
Absolutely.
For the absolute contrast, let's go back to this guy here.
Okay.
Could be no more different, right?
Very.
Yeah. Both beautiful in their own unique right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about maple sometimes when they use the word bright. And of course, this is very subjective stuff. It's like, does that good? Does that bad? No, it's bright.
It
you know?
is bright,
And there's
but
gonna
it's
be-
bright in a useful way.
There's going to be situations where you're going to want to have that thing, which is why you have these guys in so many bands with rock bands behind you, where you don't want to be mush sitting there back in the mix. You really want, you know.
Now do that same lick.
I think I can. Remembering what I just played. Yeah, it's just warm.
I mean, both are great sounds, but could they be any more different? While still having kind of that percussive Dreadnought
Yeah,
character, you
yeah.
know? That's the thing that's common on all this stuff. Now,
Good.
two more guitars,
Okay.
and then we're going to be through guitars here. But I kind of want to do this one because when we talk about mahogany and the sapele and stuff like that, here's an all Sapele guitar, G series guitar, and this is going to be a very rootsy, warm, round sounding guitar, acoustic blues kind of thing, but definitely way more mid-rangey.
Yeah.
So even though there's a drop off in production quality, right? You don't necessarily feel it when you're playing it, right? It's
No.
still a very easy guitar to play and
Yeah, even the G series are just
satisfying.
surprisingly consistent.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're workhorses.
Get this over to Jeff here.
Yeah, I'm interested. Also, again, satin finish kind of feels nice.
Yeah,
and,
it's nice.
Yeah.
Nice and smooth. Let's see here. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So interesting. What do you think of all the differences of the woods?
I mean, frankly, and I'll jump in. You know, I probably shouldn't say this because I'm old, but I've been playing guitar for 48 years, and it's been very rare. It's been very rare I've had the opportunity to do this.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
This is not a normal environment or situation where
Well-
you get to A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
And, I mean, you can go to a music store, you can sit and do this, but you're gonna get, you know, like line 2, you know, recording line 2.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and again, I've also been to plenty of studios where there's been a lot of guitars to choose from when you're picking out something that you're gonna, you know, play on a record or something like that. But that's different because you're under the gun and you're, you know. So this has just been a great opportunity to, you know, as I was saying, I played for a long time, but I still learned a lot doing this. Really neat.
Yeah. I love the idea of people being able to watch this too and get a good A/B, you know, comparison without, because we're not changing settings or anything. So
Nothing.
it's
No,
like
that's,
it's a very true representation from guitar to
literally-
guitar.
Thanks for your time. I mean, this is a crazy long discussion, but at the same time too, I think it was a lot of fun. I had fun. So, I mean,
I had fun.
I know that, you know,
I had a great time.
some of you probably had fun. At any rate, thanks a lot. And please, for more information about all these models and just in general about acoustics, go to esptakamine.com.